Hello guys. So in this particular video I'm gonna discuss about the recent project that I have developed. So in this particular project I have developed a chatbot to help users in assisting them in booking doctor's appointment. So basically the main functionality of this particular chatbot is to help the users to book new doctor's appointment, to edit the appointments they have already booked, or to cancel the appointments they have already booked, or to get information on the appointment they have already booked. So the chatbot basically can do these four functions. So that's the main purpose of this particular project. And for the setup I have made the project basically in Python. Up to 80 to 90% of the work is done in Python. For the natural language processing part I have used Google's Gemini large language model, and for the app building part I have used Streamlit, and to manage the data in the backend I have used a MySQL database to manage the appointments. So these are the tools that I have used to develop this project, and there are some constraints that I had to uh, uh, keep in order to make this project working. I'll come to that later, but firstly, uh, this is how my uh, application looks like. So basically the assistant will first ask the customer or the user on what is their purpose of visit. So the message will be something like this: hello, I'm a doctor's appointment managing chatbot. I can help you with booking, editing and cancelling your appointment. Along with this I can also get information on your appointment that have been already booked. How can I help you today? So now the user will say to the chatbot what is his intention of using this chatbot today, and based on his input the chatbot will internally analyze the intent of the user, and it will execute separate functions for it. For example, if the user says hi, hey, I want to book a doctor's appointment, then the chatbot will understand that okay, the intent of the user is booking an appointment today, and it will execute the flow that is mapped with the booking part. So this is how the application basically works. So these natural language processing parts are basically done using Gemini's large language model, as I said earlier, and that's how things work in here. Let me just first show a quick demo of the project on how the chatbot works. Basically this is a 4-phase project. Right now I have completed the first phase of one. The first phase is booking an appointment. So now the chatbot can actually book an appointment for the user, and in the consecutive phases I'll be adding the feature for cancelling an appointment, editing an appointment, and uh, getting information on the booked appointment. Let us just quickly dive into the demo of how the chatbot actually works. Basically, as I said earlier, uh, this is how my chatbot is gonna look like. So it will first ask what is the intention of the user, and now let me type, I want to book an appointment right now. So I will type, I want to book a doctor's appointment. So internally it will assess what's the intent of the user, and it will ask a confirmation message saying that, do you want to book a doctor's appointment. It's asking for the confirmation from the user. So we'll say yes. If I say no, it will repeat that question again. It will apologize for its mistake, and it will repeat the question, repeat the question of how can it help the user again. So as I said, I want to book the appointment. Now it is showing the available dates. So these dates are basically internally the chatbot will run a SQL query to get the available dates in on the dates where there are available slots to be booked. It will check for those dates, and it will fetch those dates, and then it will formulate them into a natural language, and it will display it like this. So we'll say I want to book on July 1st, to book on July 1st. So now the chatbot will get the date. So it's July 1st of 2024. and it will check for available appointments in that particular dates, available time slots in that particular dates, and it will list them. We'll say 6:30 is fine for me. So it's asking a confirmation again. It's always a good practice to have these confirmation ticks so that we don't deviate from what the user needs to do. So it says, whether you want to confirm the appointment for July 1st 6:30 p.m. We'll say yes, go ahead. And now it is asking whether you have registered with the clinic or not. So if we say yes to this message, it will ask for a patient ID, and if we say no for the message, it will first register with the clinic, and then it will continue with the appointment booking process. For now, we'll say no because we don't have a patient ID. So it's asking for a name now. We'll say my name is Rajinikanth. I'm giving some sample names for now. So your registration with our clinic is successful. Please take note of your ID, and it is giving us our ID name. It is PAT121, and for future references you can use this ID to retrieve your appointment details. It's saying. So we'll take note of it, and then now we'll enter any response to continue. Okay, now it is addressing us with our name. Rajnikant, what is your purpose of your visit to the clinic today? We'll say my tummy is hurting a lot since I had a lot of spicy samosas yesterday. Now it is processing, and it is giving us a response. Can I go ahead and book your appointment for tomorrow, July 1st 6:30? That's the date and time we gave for stomach bug. So it identified from the text what we gave. From the text, my tummy is hurting a lot, it has identified that okay, this user have come because of the reason of stomach bug, and it is asking us again a confirmation to book the appointment. Okay, we'll give the confirmation yes. And now it says your appointment has been booked for tomorrow, July 1st 6:30 p.m. for stomach bug, and your appointment ID is APPT123. Please make note of this ID for future references. Is there anything else I can help with you? Enter any response to continue. So this is the final step. If we say any response, it will again go to the first response it gave. How can I help you? So that was the first response it gave when we started the chatbot. So this will be running infinitely once this process is completed every time. So this is a basic demo of how my chatbot works. Now let us see what were the constraints or assumptions I had before starting this chatbot. Some of the major constraints or assumptions that I had in my mind before designing this project were, there cannot be more than one appointment on the same date and same time. I assume that this clinic had only one doctor, and there cannot be more than one patient having an appointment booked on the same date and same time. Just to ease out some of the computational complexities, I made this assumption. And the second assumption was, the clinic will function only between 5 p.m. in the evening to 9 p.m. in the evening, and each appointment can be 30 minutes long, and the possible appointment time slots can be 5, 5:30, 6, 6:30, 7, 7:30, 8, 8:30, and 9. So these are the only possible appointment timings. And if a user, so this is going to be the third assumption, and if any user is attempting to book an appointment, doctor's appointment, he can only book a week in advance. So if I'm attempting to book on 27th of June, today's date is 27th of June when I'm recording this video, I can only be able to book up to 3rd of July. So that's the reason why, if you have noticed, when the chatbot replied us with the available dates, the maximum date would be July 3rd. and only if it had available slots it would have been shown in that particular text. So only for a week in advance a user can book, so that's the reason why it is showing a limited set of dates. So these were the three assumptions or constraints I had in mind before constructing this particular project. Now let us have a deeper understanding of how things actually work in the backend and how the natural language processing is done. So basically, this chatbot is constructed using a huge set of prompts that have been sent to the Google's Gemini large language model, and the response from the model is has been displayed in this particular in the form of a chatbot response. And sometimes at times it needs some querying as well, and our SQL database have information about every appointments that have been booked. So whenever an appointment is booked, it will be stored in the database. So the database will have information about the appointment ID. The rows of the columns of the database would be appointment ID, patient ID, and the name of the patient, and the date in which they are attempting to book the appointment, and the time at which they are attempting to book the appointment. And also it will have information about the purpose of their visit, and so on and so forth. So these information will be stored in the database whenever a user is booking an appointment. And to make this chatbot working, so I created a sample set of data. I loaded around 100 rows of data into the database. I populated it using ChatGPT. So I gave a prompt to generate dummy data, and it gave me a data. I gave the rows and columns and the constraints and stuff like that, and I generated a dummy data of 100 rows. So I created that dummy data to have some to check whether the application is working properly or not. So I had to create those data. So let us now see how the chatbot actually works when we attempted to uh, give the input to it. So let us take the example of the one we demonstrated earlier. So here first it's asking for the intent of the user, and I'm saying I want to book a doctor's appointment. So internally I'll be having a prompt, the users I'll say, you are an assisting, you're a chatbot who assists users to book their appointments, and they will have people will come to you with these set of intentions. And one of the user have said, I want to book a doctor's appointment. Identify what is the intention of the user, and the large language model will return an intent, and based on that intent it will again have a confirmation prompt. So we'll have another prompt for it. So to generate this confirmation text, I will say a prompt like, you have identified booking as an intent, just confirm with the user whether it is right or wrong. So the large language model will now generate this response: do you want to book a doctor's appointment? And the user will again give a response, and again this response will be again another prompt will be given. So you ask like this, and the user have replied this. So based on that response, continue, or if else statement will be programmed in the Python notebook, and based on that separate function will be executed. Now when the user gives a green signal, so he says yes. So if the statement from the user is yes, now the model has confirmed that the user have come here to book a doctor's appointment. So it will now take the current date, it is 27th of June, and it will check with the database to a week long, and it will check whether any particular dates have slots that needs to be filled. So I have generated a SQL query for this that will look something like this. So this query basically checks with the database to return the dates which have available slots for the next week. So those dates are then given to the large language model, and then it is converted into a natural language, and it has been displayed in a format like this. Next, the user is giving the input as July 1st, and now there has been separate prompt to retrieve the date that has been given by the user in the format of 4y's dash double m dash double d. So this the date from the natural language text given by the user, it has been converted into that particular format, and then that date is then used to another query has been written using that date to retrieve the available slot in that particular date. So this will be the query for that, and then this query is run in the backend, and a result is populated, and the result has been given to the large language model along with the prompt. So these are the available timings. Say the user that these are the available timings in the natural language, and then that result has been shown in the form of this. And it also asks the users to choose a date suitable, suitable for them, and then they are giving a timing to the they are giving an input, they are giving a suitable time for them as an input, and then this input is then processed and it has been converted into a suitable time format, and then it is giving a confirmation text saying whether the user wants to book an appointment or not, book an appointment on the chosen date and time. And when the user says yes, it is now asking whether the user have registered with the clinic or not. So if he says yes, and then a particular set of program will be run, and if he says no, a particular set of program will be run. For right now, we'll just concentrate on the response no. So when the user says no, it is asking for the user to enter their response. So here the user have entered his response as my name is Rajnikant. Instead, if the user have entered a text like the sun rises in the east, the large language model will understand that the text they have provided is not that does not contain name, and it will again ask the user to enter their name again. The reason behind this is I have given a prompt to the large language model something like this. So based on this, it will populate a response corresponding to whether if the user have given a name, it will give a response, and if the user have not given a name, it will give a separate response. So my model actually works like this. In this case, the user have given the response as my name is Rajnikant, so it identified that the user have given a name, so it proceeds with the registration process, and then to register a new patient, it again runs a new set of a new SQL query. So this particular query will be executed. Basically what this query does is it will check for the patient ID, and it will generate a new patient ID based on its previous value. For now, up to PAT 120 would be the last registered patient, so now it is using the ID PAT 121. So this result has been generated using this particular query, and then that result has been formulated in this form of text, stating that your user ID is PAT 121. Use this for future references. And now when the user gives an input, it is asking what is the purpose of visit. And now, as I mentioned earlier, it is processing the text we give as a simple two word or three word phrase, and then it is saying that you have booked the appointment for stomach bug. So this is how this particular input is processed, and then it is again asking for a confirmation, and when the user gives the confirmation, it is booking an appointment. So to book an appointment, it is again generating a new appointment ID. Basically this is the same process of generating a new patient ID. So a similar set of query is run, so this would be the query for it, and this appointment ID is then generated. So when this appointment ID is generated, then next step is to book the appointment and store it in the database. So this is a very crucial part. So this particular query is run to store this appointment into the database. So whenever if a user attempts to book a new appointment, he cannot be able to book on July 1st 6:30 p.m. because this appointment has been already booked by another user. And as I said earlier, the constraint is to have only one appointment at a time on a given date. No two users can have the same date and time for an appointment. So this was our constraint. So whenever a new appointment has been booked, and if a user attempts to book an appointment, the query that has a query will be run to fetch the date and fetch the date where there have been available slots. And when a user selects the same date as July 1st, it will check for timings where there is an available slots to book. So at that time this 6:30 p.m. would not be fetched because we have already loaded this particular appointment details into our database. So by this way we can avoid any data discrepancies like this. So this is the reason why we are creating a MySQL database and maintaining the appointments and loading whenever a new appointment is booked. So this is how this things works. Let us now see our database to have a deeper look into how things are loaded. So now we are in our MySQL workbench. So now let us see how the data has been stored when we have booked an appointment. So let us write this simple query: select store from appointments. So this appointments table contain all the information that we have stored, and internally we have run SQL query to store the information whenever we create a new appointment. So if we run this particular query and if we come down to see the latest record, we can see that the serial number 123. So this serial number has been generated every time a new appointment has been booked. So it stores the appointment ID. So if you remember, APPT123 was the appointment ID that was given to us. So using this unique ID we can identify our appointments. The reason for giving this ID is we have another three phases, in which one of the phases is to get information about the booked ID, or to edit an ID, or to cancel an ID, edit an appointment or cancel an appointment. So basically, to edit, book, or get information on a booked appointment, they need some identification to identify which appointment has been booked by the user. To get that information, we are giving a unique appointment ID to each appointment whenever we are booking. So that's the reason of populating this particular column. So a unique appointment ID has been given, and then the patient who booked the appointment. So Rajnikant was the patient who booked the appointment because his tummy was burning. So that patient name has been given, and if you remember, this was the patient ID that was generated when he registered with the clinic. Basically, he did not have registered with the clinic earlier, only this time he registered. So that time a new ID was generated for him. That ID is stored in here, that patient ID is stored, and then his name, as I mentioned earlier, and the appointment date. So he wanted to book on July 1st, so that has been converted into this particular format and it is being stored in here. And we have the appointment timing. He wanted to book at 6:30 p.m. We have that information, and the purpose of visit has been stored as stomach bug. So this is how basically whenever an appointment has been booked, it has been stored in here. And whenever an appointment is cancelled, that record will be deleted from the database, so that slot will now be available. And if anyone is attempting to book a new appointment, that particular timing will be shown to them and they can book appointment on that particular time slot. And if someone wishes to edit an appointment, we can easily fetch the information using the appointment ID. To get information on that appointment, we can fetch the details using the appointment ID. And if anyone wishes to edit an appointment, basically we can update the database. We have separate SQL queries for that, so that's not going to be an issue. So basically this is how the chatbot works. And as I mentioned earlier, right now I have designed only to the booking part, and I'll be trying to add more features to the chatbot in the near future. That's it for this particular video. See you guys in the next video.